Close your eyes. Imagine the sound of water drifting softly, a current older than time itself, carrying secrets no mortal or god can fully name. This is no ordinary river. It is whispered about in the oldest tales, feared and revered alike. They call it the River of Chaos. Long before mountains rose, before stars burned in the heavens, this river was already there, flowing in silence, carrying the pulse of creation itself. Its waters did not simply quench thirst or feed the land. They shimmered with something deeper, a power to weave beginnings and endings together. To gaze upon it was to glimpse the dance of life and dissolution, order and disorder, forever entwined in an endless rhythm. High upon Olympus, Zeus, king of thunder, ruler of the skies, heard the stories. Even he, mighty as he was, felt the stirrings of curiosity. What truths lay hidden in a river older than his reign? What secrets might it reveal to one who dared approach? And so, our story begins. A god who ruled the heavens, and a river that carried the timeless song of eternity. Every river carries a story. Some carve valleys through mountains, others bring life to the fields. Some connect distant lands and carry ships across the seas. But one river is unlike all the rest. It does not simply flow through the world. It flows through existence itself. This is the River of Chaos. Few have seen it. Fewer still have spoken of it. For the river does not appear on maps. It hides where order and unshaped possibility meet. Yet its whispers are heard. Fishermen dream of waters glowing with strange colors. Shepherds hear rushing currents where no stream runs. Poets write verses of a river that carries not just water, but beginnings and endings. They feel its rhythm in their words and their dreams. Even the gods are not free from these whispers. On Olympus itself, the murmur sometimes reaches the thrones of the immortals. The whispers are not words. They are like a breeze through the soul, like an echo you almost remember when waking from a dream. Most gods and mortals turn away. What comfort lies in a river that can unmake as easily as it creates? But some listen, and among them is one whose curiosity cannot be silenced. Zeus, ruler of the skies. Though Zeus commands storms and rules Olympus, his mind is restless. He already holds power, yet the whisper stirs deeper questions within him. What is the true nature of creation? What lies before thunder, before stars, before Olympus itself? The whispers grow stronger when he is alone. At the edge of storms, he feels their pull, a rhythm older than his reign, calling him nearer. Rumors spread among the immortals. Hera sees his distant gaze. Hermes notices the spark behind his eyes. Athena senses the weight of silence. The river of chaos is said to flow not with water, but with possibility. To touch it is to glimpse all beginnings and all endings. Some return with visions too vast for words. Others vanish, becoming part of the current itself. But Zeus does not turn away, not when mystery calls. The whispers echo in his heart like distant thunder, and one quiet night, he speaks aloud the thought within him. I must see the river for myself. His voice is calm, not command, not thunder, a confession, softer than rain. And so the journey begins, not with lightning, but with a whisper that now lives in the heart of the King of Gods. For when the river of chaos calls, even Zeus must listen. Curiosity is a quiet flame. It does not roar like thunder, yet it burns brighter than lightning. For Zeus, that flame had begun to grow. He was ruler of Olympus, master of storms, king of the gods. Yet within him stirred a restlessness that no throne or crown could quiet. It was not hunger for power, for he already possessed it. It was not conquest, for none could rival him. It was a mystery deeper than both. The river of chaos, the whispers that came in dreams and silence, faint yet constant, tugging at him like a hidden current beneath the sky. Zeus walked the halls of Olympus, thunder in his steps, but his thoughts were elsewhere, beyond the clouds, beyond the known. Hera watched him closely, wondering what storm brewed in his heart. She asked, once, why he stared so far into the horizon. He gave no answer, only silence. For how could he explain a whisper? Athena noticed as well. She saw the shift in his gaze. In her wisdom, she knew he carried a question larger than Olympus itself. Hermes too remarked that his father seemed slower, not in step but in thought, a weight resting behind his eyes. The curiosity was no burden to Zeus. It was a call, a pull he could neither deny nor escape. He remembered the first time it came clearly. In a storm, lightning tearing the heavens. He saw rivers below, silver threads across the land. But one river shone differently. It was not water, but possibility. And from that vision, he could not turn away. The river of chaos was more than rumor. He knew it, not in proof, but in instinct. And instinct was not easily ignored. At night, he walked the heights of Olympus. He gazed at stars and wondered what first lit their fires in the sky. He thought of seas and their endless waves. What stirred them before Poseidon's reign? He thought of earth and its breath before mortals walked upon it. Each thought circled back to the river. The whispers painted feelings, vastness, endless beginnings, silent endings. Even gods were not the first. Something older flowed before them. Something deeper ran beneath them. Zeus felt the truth of it. His reign was mighty, but not the first. His thunder was strong, but not the oldest sound. The river of chaos had been before all of it, a current that carried creation and unmaking in the same hand. Curiosity grew restless in him. It walked with him. It lingered in his silence. It burned quietly, but it burned without end. Olympus itself seemed smaller against that thought. Its grandeur could not compare to the mystery of the river. One evening, as the sun sank, Zeus stood alone at the edge of the sky. Winds hushed. Stars waited to appear. And inside him came the thought, sharper than ever. There is more. More than Olympus. More than the throne. More than lightning in my hand. Restlessness turned into resolve. Zeus could not remain still. He was a king, yes, but he was also a seeker. The whispers demanded an answer. He breathed deeply. The air was heavy with rain. The decision had been made. The river was waiting. Gods around him did not question. Yet all saw the change. His silence was louder than thunder. His gaze reached past horizons. His heart listened to whispers no one else could hear. The flame of curiosity had become fire. And no throne, no storm, no crown could quiet it. For Zeus, the journey had not begun in the world, but in his soul. It had already started. Every journey begins not with a step, but with a decision. For Zeus, that choice had already been made in silence, guided by whispers in the night. The river of chaos called to him. The time had come to act. He could have marched with thunder, filling the skies with power. But this was not a journey of conquest. It was a pilgrimage, quiet and personal. So he set aside his symbols. No crown upon his head. No scepter in his hand. Even his thunderbolts he left behind. For the river would not bend to storm or lightning. It would only be known through humility. Zeus descended from Olympus in simple form, not as a king, but as a traveler upon the earth. His feet touched valleys where shepherds tended their flocks. His shadow crossed hills where olive trees grew. Mortals saw him and did not know him. To them, he was only a stranger walking a long road. Yet the world seemed to guide him. Birds circled above, leading him forward. The wind shifted, carrying him along. Streams trickled in the same direction he walked, as though the earth itself shared his purpose. One evening, he rested beneath a cedar tree. From the shadows, a fox appeared, eyes glowing softly in the night. It did not fear him. Instead, it bowed its head and trotted forward. Zeus followed, step by step. The path was not marked, yet signs appeared. A river bend, shaped like an eye. A mountain cliff, carved like a hand. Each sign whispered the same message: you are being led. Zeus did not rush. The river could not be found by speed, but by patience. At dawn, He walked with the rising Sunday. At dusk, he listened to cicadas and the rustling leaves. Even the smallest sounds felt part of the journey. Mortals greeted him with kindness. A farmer offered bread. A child handed him figs. An old woman drew water from her well. None knew they were serving the king of the gods. And that was as it should be. For here, Zeus was not a ruler, but a seeker. Each gift he accepted with gratitude. Each smile reminded him the river touched mortals and gods alike. One night, he dreamed of glowing waters, flowing like constellations. He reached out and felt starlight in his hand. When he woke, dew sparkled on the grass, as though the dream had spilled into the waking world. The road grew stranger as he traveled. Time bent. A morning could last forever. An afternoon could vanish in a blink. Yet Zeus pressed on, not by the measure of hours, but by the certainty in his heart. The river was near. He felt it in the rhythm of his steps, in the wind on his breath, in the silence of birds. The whispers grew louder, still faint, but no longer distant, like the hum of thunder before a storm. He knew the journey was not just across the land, but inward. Each mile brought him closer to the river, and closer to himself. The journey had begun, and the world leaned forward, watching as the king of the skies walked the path of a seeker. The further Zeus traveled, the stranger the world became. Roads twisted in unfamiliar ways. Forests appeared where none had grown before. The ordinary world shimmered as if a veil had been lifted. Each step carried him deeper, not only across the land, but into a greater design. The river of chaos was not found by chance. It revealed itself only to those who listened. And Zeus was listening. The first sign came with dawn. The sun's reflection rippled on a stone where no water flowed. The light moved like waves, as if the stone itself remembered the sea. When he touched it, warmth spread into his hand, filling him with certainty. Later, he walked through a meadow of tall grass. The wind bent the stalks in perfect rhythm. The swaying was not random. Spirals and circles formed, echoing the stars above. Earth and heaven were speaking the same language, written in motion and silence. That night, flames rose from his fire. Sparks leapt into the air, glowing like fireflies. But instead of fading, they formed fleeting images. A hand, a river, a doorway. The visions lasted only moments. Yet they left their mark upon him. The world was not just guiding him. It was speaking. Every sign was a word. Every vision, a sentence. The river of chaos was writing its invitation across reality itself. On the third day, he entered a silent valley. No bird sang. No insect stirred. The wind was still. From the silence came a hum, deep and steady, like the earth itself was breathing. He followed it to a hollow in the rock. Water seeped from the ground, glowing faintly. Its colors were unknown to mortal eyes. Zeus knelt, cupping the water in his hand. He did not drink. Instead, he listened. The liquid pulsed like a heartbeat. In that rhythm, he felt the first sparks of creation. The spring was small, yet it was a fragment of the river itself. From that moment, every step grew heavier with meaning. Every sound, every silence, every shadow asked, "Are you ready?" Zeus wondered if he was. He was king of the gods, yet here he felt like a child. Power could not prepare him for the river. Only openness could. One evening, clouds gathered. Lightning flickered, but not his lightning. These flashes were softer, like lanterns glowing within the sky. Rain fell, cool and gentle. In the drops he saw threads of light weaving and dissolving. Chaos was not destruction alone. It was weaving and unweaving. The rhythm of creation. Zeus stood in the rain, letting it wash over him. For the first time in ages, he felt small, not in defeat, but in wonder. The river was near. He could sense it in silence, in shifting signs, in the rhythm of the world. And so he walked on, guided not by thunder, but by the quiet conversation of the cosmos. Every sign was a promise. Every promise carried him closer to the river of chaos. The path grew harder as Zeus pressed forward. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks hidden in clouds. He felt the weight of silence pressing against him, heavier than stone. The river of chaos was close. He could feel its pulse in the air. Yet the way was guarded, not by walls, but by riddles of the world itself. The first test came at dawn. Zeus reached a crossroads, where 3 paths split in different directions. One wound upward into the mountains. One curved into a forest. One vanished into mist. He stood still, listening. No signs marked the way, but then he noticed the wind. It did not blow steady. Instead, it swirled in circles, echoing the spiral patterns he had seen in the meadow of grass. He followed the spiral. It led him into the mist. The mist thickened until even his own hand seemed distant. But he did not fear. He let the whispers of the river guide his steps. Soon, the mist parted, and he found himself before a great stone arch. It was not built by mortal hands. Its curves were smooth, as though shaped by time itself. At the center of the arch was no door, only emptiness. Yet, as Zeus approached, the emptiness shimmered. Within it, images appeared, stars forming, stars fading, rivers of light weaving across endless darkness. The vision asked no words, but it posed a question all the same. Would he step forward, knowing he could not return unchanged? Zeus did not hesitate. He stepped through. On the other side, the air trembled. Colors danced across the sky, hues beyond mortal names. The ground itself glowed faintly, as if lit from beneath by hidden fire. Here, the world was thinner. The boundary between creation and chaos was stretched like fabric, ready to tear. He walked carefully, knowing each step carried meaning. In the distance, he saw a tree unlike any other. Its trunk was silver, its branches reaching like rivers of light. Upon its branches grew fruit that glowed softly, each one pulsing like a heartbeat. Zeus approached and laid his hand on the bark. The tree shivered, not with wind, but with recognition. A voice rose within him, not outside. It said, "All things have roots, even you, king of skies." Zeus closed his eyes and listened. The voice continued, "The river does not begin, nor does it end. It flows beneath roots, above stars, through every breath." The words were not commands. They were reminders. Zeus understood. He was not here to master the river, but to witness it, not to claim it, but to learn from it. He opened his eyes. The tree's fruit glowed brighter, then dimmed again, as if in agreement. Beyond the tree, a faint glow stretched across the horizon. It pulsed like water, yet shimmered like light. The river of chaos was near closer than ever. Zeus felt the air tremble with its rhythm, and though he was the king of gods, he bowed his head in reverence. For some mysteries are not conquered, they are honored. And this, he knew, was one of them. The glow on the horizon grew stronger with each step Zeus took. It was not sunlight, nor moonlight, but something older, more primal. The light pulsed gently, alive, as though the world itself was breathing. Zeus felt the threshold approaching, and his chest tightened with awe. The air was heavy with rhythm, each breath thick with possibility. At last, he reached the edge of a canyon, vast and echoing. Below, light moved like a river, twisting in endless motion. The river of chaos. It shimmered with colors that no mortal eyes had ever known. The current shifted starlight one moment, storm clouds the next. Within it, he saw visions, worlds forming, dissolving, forming again. Zeus stood in silence, humbled before the endless current. He had ruled Olympus, but here no crown had meaning. For a while, he only watched the river whisper its song. It did not roar. It sang softly, like memory long forgotten. Then the ground shifted, and a path appeared below him. A spiral of light, leading down into the glowing canyon. Zeus followed, each step heavier than stone, yet steady. At last, he reached the riverbank, trembling with wonder. The river did not flow in one direction. It looped forward, backward, weaving a living tapestry of time. Zeus knelt, touching the current, letting light pass through him. Visions flooded his mind, brighter than thunder itself. A spark ignited in darkness, and a sun was born. The same sun collapsed, folding into silence once again. A child laughed under olive trees, chasing shadows of joy. The same child aged, returned to earth, and rose as wind. Life and death, spark and silence, flowed without beginning or end. Zeus trembled, not in fear, but in endless awe. He, the god of storms, felt like one note in a vast song. The river pressed against him, but demanded nothing at all. It offered only vision, truth, and the rhythm of change. He could turn away, or he could listen. If he listened, he would never remain the same. So Zeus stayed, eyes closed, heart open to the flow. He let the current carry him beyond himself. He saw Olympus, bright and fragile, like morning mist. He saw storms, not as weapons, but as part of rhythm. He saw himself, not only as king, but as fragment. The vision faded, yet the river continued without end. Zeus opened his eyes, silence deep within his chest. Words were too small for what he had seen. Instead, he bowed his head before the endless current. This was only the beginning, not the whole depth. To know more, he would have to step further still. So he stood at the threshold, listening, waiting, learning. The river did not demand haste. It asked only for presence. And in that presence, Zeus, the king of gods, was humbled. Zeus lingered at the threshold, where silence was alive with meaning. The river shimmered, yet now a figure began to emerge from its glow. It was neither mortal nor divine, yet it carried the weight of both. Its form shifted like water, changing shape with every ripple of light, sometimes tall as a mountain, sometimes small as a flame in the dark. Zeus watched, steady, his hand resting on the hilt of his thunder. But the figure did not threaten. It only mirrored. When Zeus moved, it moved. When he breathed, it breathed. The keeper of reflections had arrived. Its voice did not rise from lips, but from the river itself. You seek to understand, yet what do you see in yourself? Zeus frowned, for the words pressed deep into his chest. The keeper's surface shifted, and suddenly Zeus saw his own face. Not as it was now, but as it had been young, fiery, untested. He saw himself defying Cronus, grasping power with unshaken will. He saw the storm in his eyes, the hunger in his heart. Then the image changed, and he saw himself as king. His throne on Olympus, lightning in hand, gods gathered below. But he also saw the weight in his shoulders, heavy as stone. The keeper whispered, "Do you see ruler or prisoner of the crown?" Zeus inhaled sharply, for truth carried no gentleness here. Again, the image shifted, and he saw himself as nothing. No crown, no thunder, only a man walking beneath endless skies. And in that moment, the river rippled, showing all three at once. The youth of fire, the king of storms, the wanderer of silence. The keeper spoke. "Which one will you bring to the river?" Zeus's chest tightened, but he did not turn away. He knew this was no trial of strength, but of sight. Slowly he answered, "All of them, for I am all of them." The keeper stilled, its surface smoothing like calm water. The river brightened, and the canyon glowed as if in approval. The reflection faded, leaving only ripples across the current. Zeus remained silent, but his heart felt lighter, steadier, for he had not denied himself, nor chosen one face alone. He had accepted the storm, the crown, and the wanderer as one. The keeper dissolved back into the river, its duty fulfilled. Only the flow remained, endless, timeless, whispering still. And Zeus understood. The river of chaos demanded no perfection. It asked only for honesty and for presence within the flow. He bowed his head once more, and the journey deepened. The river of chaos flowed on, endless, shimmering with visions of time. Zeus stood on the bank, his spirit steadier after meeting the keeper. But he knew the journey was not yet complete. The river had more to reveal, more to teach. Ahead, he saw a bridge stretched across the canyon. It shimmered like glass, yet rippled like water. It had no true beginning, no true end. Every step seemed to echo forever. Zeus approached, feeling the hum of memory in the air. The bridge pulsed with sound, with voices faint but familiar. He stepped forward, and laughter reached his ears. The laughter of his brothers, Young and untested, the bridge carried echoes of what once was. He heard Poseidon's bold voice, vowing to rule the seas. He heard Hades, quieter, speaking of shadows and hidden places. The voices were not illusions, but living memory. Zeus pressed forward, and more voices joined. The voice of Hera, sharp and steady, speaking of duty. The voice of Athena, wise, questioning his choices. Each step was filled with the chorus of the past. But then thunder shook the bridge. It was not his own, but Cronus, his father. The sound carried hunger, fear, and endless weight. An image rose, Cronus, tall and dark, eyes filled with hunger. The figure did not strike. It only stared. Hands reached for the child he once sought to swallow. Zeus steadied his breath, refusing fear. This was not Cronus, but an echo of memory. Yet the fear it stirred was real. Zeus did not summon thunder. Instead, he stepped forward, steady and calm. The echo wavered, then dissolved into ripples of light. Only the river remained, whispering softly. Zeus understood the bridge was not to frighten. It was to remind him of what had shaped him. Every voice, every trial, every bond lived in him. They were not chains, but threads in his being. More echoes came as he walked. He heard mortals calling for rain. He heard prayers whispered in temples of stone. Gratitude, hope, anger, all carried in their voices. Zeus felt their weight deeply. His power was never his alone. It was shaped by the voices that called his name. At the center, the echoes became a roar, not anger, but countless voices overlapping as one. Gods, mortals, titans, stars all joined in chorus. It was overwhelming, and it was beautiful. Zeus stood still, letting the voices surround him. The bridge was alive with memory. Every vow, every cry, every prayer lived here. The river carried them all, patient and eternal. Zeus closed his eyes, bowing his head. In the echoes, he heard not only the past, he heard the rhythm of what might yet come. The river was not only memory, it was promise. The far side of the bridge glowed softly. The path continued, deeper into the canyon of light. Zeus looked once more at the voices around him. He let their chorus settle in his heart. Then he stepped forward, crossing fully. The bridge of echoes faded into mist. The river waited, endless and patient. Another secret was ready to be revealed. The river narrowed, guiding Zeus deeper into the canyon. The roar of water softened, replaced by an unfamiliar stillness. He slowed his steps, cautious, listening to the quiet. The river curved and opened into a basin of calm. Around it stretched a garden, wild yet impossibly serene. Silver trees bent low, their leaves glowing faintly. Flowers shimmered, each petal alive with gentle light. No wind stirred, yet everything seemed to breathe. Zeus paused, sensing the weight of silence. No birds called, no insects hummed, no voices echoed. Even the river whispered in hushed tones. His thunder quieted, dimmed within this place. Not lost, only softened, made still. This was no ordinary grove. It was the silent garden, hidden within the river. Here, memory took another form. Visions rose, not from the past, but from within. Zeus saw himself young, uncertain, crowned in new power. Moments of choice shimmered before him like flame. To rule with fear, or to balance with justice. Hera's voice appeared, steady through storms and years. He saw Athena's wisdom, Artemis's loyalty, children's laughter. He saw conflict too, anger, pride, and strife. Yet here, they carried no sting. They were truths, not burdens. The garden reflected his soul, both shadow and light. Zeus walked to the still basin at its heart. The water lay like a mirror, endless and clear. He leaned close, but no reflection stared back. Visions stirred instead his reign, his storms, his mercy. He saw thunder unleashed in anger, mortals trembling. He saw gentle rain blessing fields. Prayers answered softly. The basin did not judge, only revealed. Zeus closed his eyes and let silence settle. For the first time in ages, he felt humility. Even the king of gods was shaped by choices. The garden shifted, offering a gift. A silver tree bent low, glowing with light. From its branch, a single fruit appeared. It pulsed faintly, alive with quiet power. Zeus touched it, and it dissolved in his hand. Light sank into him, filling his heart with calm. It was no weapon, no crown, but understanding. The river's chaos was not an enemy. It was not to be controlled, but embraced. The silent garden gave him no answers. Instead, it gave him acceptance. The vision faded, the garden dissolving into mist. The basin emptied, the silence lifted. The river's hum returned, steady and eternal. Zeus bowed his head in reverence. He turned back to the path, calm and clear. The journey was not over. The river still held more secrets. And Zeus, steadier than before, walked on. The river widened, breaking free from the silent garden. Its waters shimmered with colors shifting too quickly to name. Bright hues mingled with shadows. Light danced with weight. This was no longer memory, but possibility. Zeus stepped carefully along the river's edge. He had seen echoes, voices, silence. Now the river carried the weight of tomorrow. The canyon opened into a vast chamber of stone and light. At its center stood a mirror, towering and alive. Smooth as glass, rippling like water, pulsing with breath. The mirror of tomorrow. Zeus felt the air tighten around him. This was no illusion, no passing vision. This was the river offering him what might be. He approached, each step heavy with meaning. The mirror rippled, then cleared. At first, it showed him as he was now, strong, calm, cloaked in thunder. Then the image shifted. Olympus shone, gods in harmony, mortals at peace. Order ruled, balance flourished. But clouds gathered, storms raged uncontrolled, mountains cracked. Mortals fled in terror. Gods turned on each other with blame. Two visions, side by side, two futures born of his choices. Zeus steadied his breath. The mirror was no prophecy. It was possibility. He reached out, touching the surface. It rippled, drawing him inside. Now he walked through visions of Olympus. In one, he ruled with balance and care. Thunder was not fear, but guidance. The land thrived. Seas were generous. Skies steady. In another, his anger burned unchecked. Mortals trembled. Gods withdrew. Shadows spread. Both futures pressed their weight on him. Pride tempted. Control called. But balance whispered too, steady and strong. The mirror asks silently, "What ruler will you be?" Zeus closed his eyes, feeling the weight of choice. The future was not guaranteed. It was shaped by will, not thunder. He opened his eyes again. The visions faded into mist. Only his reflection remained. Yet even it glowed faintly with storms and stars. He was more than a ruler. He was a keeper of balance. Zeus stepped back, calm but solemn. The mirror quieted, returning to stillness. Its lessons lingered in his heart. The chamber dimmed. The mirror dissolved into silver mist. Only the river flowed on, patient and eternal. Zeus turned once more to the path. His steps were heavy, but steady. The journey was not over. More secrets lay ahead. And Zeus walked on, not only as a king of gods, but as a guardian of what might yet be. The river of chaos curved sharply, its waters darkening as Zeus moved forward. The glow of the mirror's chamber faded behind him, replaced by a dim twilight without end. The current grew heavier, dragging at the path as the warning of what lay ahead. Zeus pressed on, his heart steady, listening to the low, mournful whisper of the river. The canyon opened into a plain of stone beneath a canopy of shifting shadow. The river split into restless streams, circling the plain like coiled serpents. At the center stood a jagged pillar of obsidian, tall and cold as the night. The air throbbed with unease. This was no place of peace. It was a place of trial. Shadows stirred, twisting into fragments of memory and taking on haunting shapes. The first figure appeared, a shadow, Zeus, cloaked in storms and burning with hunger. It spoke without words, only thunder, showing what pride could turn him into. Other shadows rose, the gods of Olympus, their faces cold, their eyes full of blame. He heard whispers of betrayal, judgment, and fractures too deep to mend. Then came mortals beneath storms, temples collapsing, unanswered prayers. They were not illusions, but possibilities, born from neglect and arrogance. The pillar pulsed, and from its surface rose one last vision. Cronus. Not memory, but legacy. Chains, hunger, and the shadow of rule through fear. Zeus felt small again, a child before a titan's endless hunger. The river pressed history against him, demanding his choice. Would he rule as his father had, through fear and control, or would he choose another way? Zeus breathed deeply. He did not summon storms. Instead, he spoke with calm strength. "You are not me. I am not bound by you." The words rippled across the plain. The pillar cracked. The shadow trembled, dissolving like smoke. Figures of betrayal, hunger, and failure vanished into mist. The river grew quiet. The darkness lifted, but did not leave entirely. Shadows lingered at the edges, reminders of truths that could not be erased, but they no longer bound him. The trial of shadows was not meant to destroy. It was meant to reveal, to test resolve, to remind him of what must be faced. Zeus stepped forward as the plain dissolved into mist. The river rejoined its steady course, though its waters now ran darker. The weight of shadows remained, but strength pulsed within him. The river of chaos had not broken him. It had revealed him, and though shadows followed at a distance, Zeus walked on, ready for what awaited beyond. The river of chaos curved sharply, its waters darkening as Zeus moved forward. The glow of the mirror's chamber faded behind him, replaced by a dim twilight without end. The current grew heavier, dragging at the path as though warning of what lay ahead. Zeus pressed on, his heart steady, listening to the low, mournful whisper of the river. The canyon opened into a plain of stone beneath a canopy of shifting shadow. The river split into restless streams, circling the plain like coiled serpents. At the center stood a jagged pillar of obsidian, tall and cold as the night. The air throbbed with unease. This was no place of peace. It was a place of trial. Shadows stirred, twisting into fragments of memory and taking on haunting shapes. The first figure appeared, a shadow, Zeus, cloaked in storms and burning with hunger. It spoke without words, only thunder, showing what pride could turn him into. Other shadows rose, the gods of Olympus, their faces cold, their eyes full of blame. He heard whispers of betrayal, judgment, and fractures too deep to mend. Then came mortals beneath storms, temples collapsing, unanswered prayers. They were not illusions, but possibilities, born from neglect and arrogance. The pillar pulsed, and from its surface rose one last vision, Cronus. Not memory, but legacy. Chains, hunger, and the shadow of rule through fear. Zeus felt small again, a child before a titan's endless hunger. The river pressed history against him, demanding his choice. Would he rule as his father had, through fear and control, or would he choose another way? Zeus breathed deeply. He did not summon storms. Instead, he spoke with calm strength. "You are not me. I am not bound by you." The words rippled across the plain. The pillar cracked. The shadow trembled, dissolving like smoke. Figures of betrayal, hunger, and failure vanished into mist. The river grew quiet. The darkness lifted but did not leave entirely. Shadows lingered at the edges, reminders of truths that could not be erased. But they no longer bound him. The trial of shadows was not meant to destroy. It was meant to reveal, to test resolve, to remind him of what must be faced. Zeus stepped forward as the plain dissolved into mist. The river rejoined its steady course, though its waters now ran darker. The weight of shadows remained, but strength pulsed within him. The river of chaos had not broken him. It had revealed him. And though shadows followed at a distance, Zeus walked on, ready for what awaited beyond.